For decades, Robert De Niro carried a cold, controlled fire that reshaped Hollywood from the inside. He was never the loudest voice on set, never the one chasing clout, and never the type to flex for headlines. He was a steady anchor in an industry built on noise, the man who treated every role like a sacred obligation. But beneath that calm presence was a rigid personal code, a list of standards that never shifted no matter how big the studios got or how famous the co-stars were. And now, at 88, he finally opens up about the names he quietly swore he'd never share a frame with again. Some legend he once admired, some newcomers who never understood the weight of the craft, and some who crossed lines he refused to overlook. This is the truth about the actors Robert De Niro will never stand beside on a set again. The first name goes back to a time when De Niro truly believed every serious actor cared about the work as deeply as he did. From a distance, he respected this man, studied his roles, and saw him as one of the few who treated acting like a real discipline. When they were finally cast together, De Niro expected focus, preparation, and a work ethic that matched his own. Instead, he stepped straight into disarray. The actor showed up without studying the script, joked through rehearsals, and brushed off emotional scenes like they were nothing. De Niro kept his composure, but the irritation grew as he watched the entire project slip into chaos. The final straw snapped during a major confrontation scene. De Niro delivered full truth, full timing, full emotion, and the other actor mocked the moment, throwing in random improvisations that shattered the rhythm and ruined the stakes. De Niro finished the job, but the respect was dead. He later told people nothing stings more than watching someone you once admired act like a rookie. That was the moment he made sure they'd never share a set again. The second name comes from a completely different kind of clash, an actor who turned every serious moment into a joke reel. De Niro has always believed that comedy only works when it's rooted in truth. It can't be forced, it can't be thirsty, and it definitely can't shatter the reality of the scene. But this co-star, brought into a drama with a hint of comedy, treated every setup like an open MIC audition. During emotional beats, he cracked jokes, exaggerated reactions, and kept breaking character just to make the crew laugh. De Niro tried to roll with it at first, hoping the director would pull him back, but things only got worse. By the middle of the shoot, scenes meant to hit hard dissolved into scattered, unfocused chaos. The emotional weight vanished. De Niro's issue wasn't comedy. It was a dishonesty behind it. It was a refusal to honor the script, the addiction to attention over authenticity. When the film wrapped, De Niro told producers he would never be matched with that actor again. For him, acting was a craft, not a comedy stage. The third name comes from one of the most draining working experiences of his entire career. This actor was a worldwide superstar, a box office magnet with an image sculpted through perfect poses and rehearsed angles. Studios worshipped him because he guaranteed money, but De Niro immediately saw through the shine. In their scenes, the same pattern played out over and over. The star never strayed from his polished expressions. Same head tilt, same voice shift, same carefully measured breathing. It looked flawless, but it wasn't living. De Niro tried to shake him loose by delivering unpredictable lines to spark something real, but nothing budged. Every take looked like a carbon copy. Every moment felt engineered for admiration, not emotion. De Niro respected discipline, but this wasn't discipline. It was vanity dressed as craft. Privately, he called it acting without danger, without risk, without soul. After the project, he quietly declined every future pairing with him, telling one director he couldn't work with someone performing for the mirror instead of the moment. The fourth name belongs to a clash that still sits with him decades later. This actor, famous for pushing method acting to extremes, was introduced to De Niro as a future of serious performers. At first, De Niro embraced him, believing immersive preparation could deepen the work. But he quickly realized the younger star had dragged a method approach into reckless territory. He stayed cruel between takes, barked at the crew to stay in character, and created tension that infected the entire set. De Niro watched assistants break down, extras shrink away from him, and the whole atmosphere collapsed under forced aggression. The breaking point came during a stunt-like scene when the actor crossed physical boundaries without warning, startling De Niro and nearly injuring a crew member. To De Niro, this wasn't commitment. It was ego masquerading as technique. When the film ended, he vowed never to work with anyone who weaponized method acting to excuse bad behavior. The fifth name on De Niro's list belongs to an actor whose behavior off-camera left a bigger scar than anything they delivered on screen. De Niro never cared about fame, trends, or Hollywood's imaginary hierarchy. He came from a world where every single person on set mattered, from the gaffer holding lights to the makeup artist fighting clock to the assistant sweating under heavy gear. That's why what he witnessed felt impossible to overlook. From day one, this actor treated the set like their private kingdom. Assistants were barked at like servants, blamed for delays they didn't cause, and scolded for mistakes they didn't make. Crew members were forced to stand by helplessly while the star demanded luxuries, stalled rehearsals, or paused entire takes just to tend to vanity details. De Niro watched it all in silence, realizing the disrespect wasn't random. It was routine. The breaking point came during a late-night shoot when a drained crew member accidentally brushed past the star while carrying equipment. Instead of showing patience, the actor exploded, berating the worker in front of the entire team. De Niro stepped in, not with yelling, but with a cold, unmistakable silence that froze the moment. He completed the movie professionally, never spoke on it publicly, but privately denied every project tied to that actor afterward. For him, disrespect toward the crew was a line you never crossed. The sixth name exposes a generational divide that showed just how far the industry has drifted from the values De Niro spent his life defending. This actor was a fast-rising young celebrity, known more for online fame and polished PR than any deep dedication to the craft. The studio thought pairing them with De Niro would merge old-school credibility with new-age hype. But by the first week, De Niro saw the problem clearly. Every rehearsal started the same way. The young star glued to their phone, scrolling through notifications, lining up posts, checking likes, barely listening when the director spoke. Crew members offering notes were met with distracted nods or rushed dismissals. And when De Niro tried to talk through character intentions, he got vague replies and unfocused attention. It didn't take long to realize the young star cared about fame, not the work. The real fracture came during a heavy emotional scene that demanded vulnerability from both sides. De Niro showed up fully present, delivering a grounded, soul-deep performance. The younger actor, meanwhile, flipped their intensity on only when the camera pointed at them, like a switch flicking between influencer mode and actor mode. The moment the director cold cut, they dropped the character instantly, grabbed their phone, and resumed updating their feed. To De Niro, this wasn't just unprofessional. It was empty. Acting required connection, awareness, and honesty, and none of those existed when someone treated the set like a backdrop for their brand. The tension deepened as the shoot continued. The young star started requesting lighting changes, extra close-ups, and retakes aimed purely at boosting their personal image instead of strengthening the storytelling. De Niro kept doing his job with complete discipline, but the partnership was already broken. As soon as filming wrapped, he quietly informed producers that he would never share a set with that actor again. The issue wasn't their age. De Niro had supported countless newcomers throughout his career. The issue was the attitude. The young star respected neither the craft, nor the crew, nor the responsibility of the story itself. And for De Niro, that was something he simply wouldn't tolerate. The final story is the one that locked De Niro's belief forever, that certain people simply don't belong anywhere near serious work. This one centered on an actor famous for unpredictability, someone who bragged about thriving in chaos and calling it creative freedom. The studio brought them into a thriller hoping their wild energy paired with De Niro's precision would spark fireworks on screen. De Niro entered with his usual quiet discipline, deep focus, careful preparation, emotional grounding. But the moment they met on set, the other actor turned the process into noise. Rehearsals devolved into shouting sprees. Director notes triggered dramatic outbursts. Simple blocking became a debate, and emotional scenes were sabotaged with random improvised theatrics that had nothing to do with the film itself. Then came the breaking point. During a confrontation scene, the actor ignored every boundary set during rehearsal, grabbed De Niro harder than necessary, and shoved the moment into dangerous territory. The whole crew froze, waiting for De Niro to react. He didn't. Instead, he reset the moment, finished the take with complete professionalism, and walked off set as soon as cut was called. From that day on, his interactions stayed polite but distant. The choice was already made. De Niro would never again work with someone who confused recklessness with authenticity. By the end of that film, De Niro had witnessed enough to understand the full picture. Not everyone cherished the work the way he did. Some acted for clout, some for applause, some for image, and some for chaos. He could adapt to different styles, but not to selfishness, disrespect, or danger. At 88, his list stayed short but unshakably firm, shaped by experiences that taught him exactly what acting should feel like and what it should never turn into. As De Niro entered the later years of his career, his radar for people became razor-sharp. He didn't need explanations, excuses, or dramatic confrontations. He watched how someone behaved when the cameras weren't rolling, how they treated their scenes, how they handled stress, and how they respected the crew that held everything together. Quietly, without ever seeking attention, he formed his own private blacklist, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Each name marked a moment when the craft was neglected, the story was harmed, or someone's humanity was ignored. And now, at 88, with nothing left to chase or prove, De Niro finally acknowledges the truth behind those choices. There was another actor De Niro refused to ever work with again, someone who treated every set like a battlefield where dominance mattered more than collaboration. From the very first day, he could feel the tension in the air. Scenes became contests instead of performances. Every line delivery felt like a competition to steal the spotlight. Rather than pursuing emotional honesty, the actor focused on overshadowing De Niro, pushing harder every moment just to grab attention. That kind of energy changed everything. Crew members tiptoed around, unsure when the next outburst would erupt. Directors struggled to keep control. The actor's insecurity hid behind aggression, turning even the simplest moments into confrontations. For De Niro, acting was never about winning. It was about rhythm, truth, and partnership. The film wrapped, but he left certain he'd never work with that energy again. Another name on the list came from a very different type of frustration, an actor whose lack of preparation made every day a struggle. De Niro had seen unprofessional behavior before, but this person took it to a whole new level. They showed up clueless, ignored rehearsals, and dismissed direction with casual apathy. Once the cameras rolled, they relied entirely on improvisation, completely disconnected from the script, forcing De Niro to hold the scene together as everything fell apart around him. The crew grew weary. The director grew anxious. The production lagged behind schedule. And through it all, the actor acted like their fame excused them from responsibility. One particularly grueling day, an emotional scene collapsed repeatedly because they couldn't even remember the simplest beats. De Niro delivered take after take, while the others struggled to stay consistent for 10 seconds. By the end, he remained professional, but the lesson was clear. Preparation isn't optional, and commitment can't be negotiated. He refused all future collaborations with that individual. As the years went on, De Niro discovered one more type of actor he swore to avoid forever, the performer who brought personal drama into every corner of the set. This wasn't someone lazy or disrespectful to the crew. Instead, they carried emotional storms that disrupted the entire environment. Every small issue became a crisis. Every director's note turned into an insult. Every adjustment sparked a meltdown. The cast and crew spent more time managing emotions than making the film. De Niro watched the project grind to a halt under constant chaos. Time was wasted. Momentum died. Scenes that demanded focus collapsed under unpredictability. He completed his work with discipline, but he quietly decided he would never again share a set with anyone who carried personal turmoil and expected others to carry it for them. With age and experience, De Niro realized the worst collaborators weren't always loud or obvious. Sometimes the most damaging was subtle, the actors who smiled politely but undermined the work behind the scenes, who nodded respectfully but never truly honored the craft, who spoke about art but treated filmmaking like a casual hobby. He noticed how some actors were more invested in fame than storytelling, more obsessed with image than emotional truth. These experiences didn't create grudges. They formed a code. A rule book for who he would never compromise with, a line in the sand built from years of protecting the integrity of the craft. Looking back over decades of work, De Niro's position is straightforward. He doesn't harbor hatred for these actors. He doesn't call them out in public. He doesn't attack their careers. His refusal is about protection of the story, protection of the crew, and protection of the craft that has defined his life. He understands how fragile a film can be, how one careless person can derail the tone, destroy the rhythm, or drain the energy from an entire set. At 88, De Niro stands firmly by every choice he's made. The actors he refuses to work with are markers of moments he never wants to relive, moments where professionalism vanished, where collaboration became impossible, and where the integrity of the craft was compromised. In an industry where silence is common among legends, De Niro's quiet honesty is striking, a lifetime guided not only by the roles he performed, but by the people he consciously kept at a distance. When the stories fade and the memories settle, one fact remains undeniable. Robert De Niro never forgot the actors who violated his code. He never allowed them back into his creative world. And that boundary, built from decades of experience, is part of why his legacy as one of the greatest actors of all time remains untouchable.